Yeshua Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rechakodash, double honesty to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. All right, another various articles. I think there's like 3 or 4. Actually, I believe there's like 2 or 3 I wanted to get into, but as with the addition of this one right here, because I was curious what was in it, so I'm going to pull this one up first. And it says, circle the wagons, the government is on the warpath. All right, it says once a government, let me get rid of my screenshotter. It says once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens and creates a country where everyone lives in fear. Obviously, I guess that's a quote from Harry S. Truman. It says how many Americans have actually bothered to read the Constitution, let alone the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. A quick read of 462 words. It says, take a few minutes and read those words for yourself rather than having some court or politician translate them for you, and you will be under no illusion about where to draw the line when it comes to speaking your mind, criticizing your government, defending what is yours, doing whatever you want on your own property, and keeping the government's nose out of your private affairs. Now, all those things just may be in there or talked about or whatever the case may be, but this is what I mention often: executive orders. Executive orders overrides everything that you think you have rights. What you think your rights are written in the so-called Constitution. Okay, all they need is to implement martial law, and along with that, their executive orders coming into play, and all they sign off on these executive orders, and your whole Constitution is out of there. They can take your car, your truck, your boat. They can shut down a seaport. They can shut down an airport. They can shut down a train station. All right. They can close off cities. All right. They can come and raid your homes and take things. These people don't have rights like they think they have rights. All right. But this is the American, how they say, American dream. This is the American illusion. That's what the real true thing. It's an American illusion that you're free and that you have rights. You are not free and you don't have rights. The only way you could be free is if you own this country, and it's the international banking families that own this country. Okay. America is a huge place of business, and we are all their slaves. And this is what they want to issue their microchip for, to have perpetual slaves, forever slaves. All right. And that's a part of their agenda that they're actually going to pull off to a certain extent, because at that point, it's going to, when that happens, it's going to be soon time for Yahushua to roll up on these devils. All right. And these are the other nations as well. All right. I might not go through this whole article. Let me see where I left that. It says, in an age of criminalization where the average citizen unknowingly commits 3 crimes a day, and even the most mundane activities such as fishing and gardening are regulated, government officials are constantly telling Americans what not to do, which is actually true, especially when it comes to fishing. They're always telling you we're not to fish and stuff like that. When, really, honestly, everyone should be living off the land. You should be able to farm and, grow your fruits, potatoes, or whatever it is you're growing. Go fish. You should be able to fish every day and have a meal. Especially for fishers themselves. They most definitely. But this makes me think about, like, because sometimes you got to look at E and just laugh, like, because they'll have illegal TV shows. And what do you mean illegal TV show? Just think about it. Moonshine is illegal. So if moonshine is so illegal, how in the hell do they have a TV show about it? You see what I'm saying? This is the illusion that E will cast over you. It may be somewhat seen as illegal, but yet they'll still make merchandise of it by creating a TV show. Right? You can't just go get a boat and do all this kind of deep sea fishing and whatever the case may be. They'll lock you up and say you don't have license or rights to be doing, or whatever the case may be. But they'll do it themselves and do what? Create a TV show, which generates even more currency. All right, because a portion of that currency is going to them anyways, just by that person having that business, and then they're making more currency through the network, stations or whatever the case, however it's set up, by making a television show out of this. This whole place is based on generating currency for the few so-called elite. Okay. it says, yes, yeah, it was not always this way. It used to be we, the people, giving the orders, telling the government what it could and could not do. Indeed, the three words used most frequently throughout the Bill of Rights in regards to the government are no, not, and nor, which I was hearing that a lot in school when they talk. Every time they talk about the Constitution or Bill of Rights, whatever the case, it says compare the following list of don'ts the government is prohibited from doing with the growing list of abuses to which we the people are subjected on a daily basis, and you will find that we have reached a state of crisis wherein the government is routinely breaking the law and violating its contractual obligations. And that's the illusion, a part of the illusion. They're not obligated to you, not in any way. You think they are, but they're not. They take orders from the banking families, both sides of the eagle, right? Both sides of the wing. Left wing, right wing, Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican, however you want to put it. All right, the two wings of the same bird, and that bird is the international banking families, and you know this so-called government. Whoever's in the seat, doesn't matter if it's a Republican or Democrat. And I've said this before. They're basically two. How did I word it? I can't exactly remember how I worded it, but two parties who have different ways to get to the same goal because they work for the same person. They're still part of that one body. They may be different wings and have different aspects of how to get to that same goal, but they're still part of that body because there's only one goal, because the body is issuing whatever it is that they want to issue. All right, once again, going back to those international banking families. I hope that makes sense. I'll get this last paragraph. We'll move on. It says, for instance, the government is not allowed to restrict free speech, press, assembly, or the citizenry's ability to protest and correct government wrongdoing. But they're showing you that yes, we can do that. All right. Well, there's an article recently I just posted. I think it was in Michigan, talking about I forgot what it was, hate speech or something like that, hate crime speech, something about somewhere along those lines. But in Michigan, hate speech bill, some mess like that. But basically, and people were going into talking about, First Amendment rights. All right, the freedom of speech was one of those big things that was concerned in that article, and the redress of grievances. Okay. It says not allowed to restrict free speech, press, assembly, or the citizens' ability to protest and correct government wrongdoing. Nevertheless, the government continues to prosecute whistleblowers, persecute journalists, criminalize expressive activities, crack down on large gatherings of citizens mobilizing to voice their discontent with government policies, and insulate itself and its agents from any charges of wrongdoing or what the courts refer to as qualified immunity. See, what the people don't understand is they're moving closer and closer to their goal. So they're really not caring what you people think. They're not caring about your protest. They want you to shut up so they can continue on with their plan. But they also know that that's not going to work. So they're finding new ways to shut people up. All right, and every now and then you see them pass this bill or whatever the case may be, and do this certain thing, do that certain thing. All right, they're slowly working towards their goal, while Americans are still asleep and think it's just, the government's trying to take my rights. No, the government has a bigger plan, and it has way more to do than your rights. All right, they way more to do with than just your rights. Okay, and that's what the Americans are. It's that deep sleep that Americans are in. It's all about my rights, my rights. Things are deeper than your rights, all right? It's about to get real out here, and you ain't gonna be thinking about rights when that microchip is in your face. It says the government may not infringe on a citizen's right to defend himself. Nevertheless, in many states, it's against the law to carry a concealed weapon, gun, knife, or even pepper spray, and the average citizen is permitted little self-defense against militarized police officers who shoot first and ask questions. And I believe, I think one of the first things Biden did when he came into office was attacking assault rifles, trying to take assault rifles from people. Anyway, it says the government may not enter or occupy a citizen's house without his consent. The quartering of soldiers. Nevertheless, government soldiers, militarized police, an example, carry out more than 80,000 no-knock raids on private homes every year, while maiming children, killing dogs, and shooting citizens. All right, and there's a lot more Do's and don't. Man, this is a long article. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to read all this. If you want to read into this more, you can. Circle the wagons. The government is on the warpath. I'm going to pause right here so I can go and grab my next one so it's not too long. Let me see. Okay, the French riots are a golden opportunity for a government crackdown. It says France, which, there's been a lot of talk about this lately. Brothers have been going in on this, videos, lessons or whatever. Continuing on though, it says France has been on fire for a week. The country erupted in riots last Tuesday after the fatal shooting of a French Algerian teenager, Nahel M, during a traffic stop. Wow. Over one teenager, but you got Israelites being slaughtered throughout history, and a nation ain't uprising yet. That's why we need Yahushua. Because you know why? Because these nations don't care about this. This is what we keep stressing to you Israelites. That which Psalms 83rd chapter is speaking right now. These nations are not your friends. They are your enemies. They don't care about you. They don't care about your soul. Well, if you don't have rights, but I'm just speaking in a general sense. They don't care about your rights. All right. Black Lives Matter. There was a bullcrap movement. Okay. Because for one, you're not black, and two, the Israelites are more than just the so-called Negroes. Okay. So, it's just a lot of blindsiding and, pulling the wolves over the eyes of the Israelites. Okay. But continuing on, it says, so far, one firefighter died while trying to put out car fires. Thousands of cars have been torched, hundreds of buildings have been burnt, and rockets were fired at a suburban Parisian mayor and his family. Over 3,000 people have been arrested, and as of Sunday, the protests have begun to slow somewhat, but have not totally stopped. All right, and you can expect things like this to hit the American shores, okay? Especially with the, you think Jake is something. You wait till these so-called white people, start to, they get all riled up. Oh, you doing like last quarter? Oh, you taking my rights, this. Oh, we can't do this. Oh, we can't do that. You wait till they start rising up against the government. Because these are the ones who always hold those violent protests most of the time, all right? It's not always Jake, though they try to write it off with Jake, all right? A lot of times you see the violent uprisings coming from their own, okay? And it's going to be things like this happening, and it's going to most definitely probably going to spark from their own. But of course, as all things do, because they always have their goals and their agendas, they're going to find some way to link it to the Hebrew Israelites, all right? So they can link it to black Hebrew Israelites, all right? Or whatever the case may be. Crafty like devils, because they have their secret agendas, though they may show you something, they always, like I used to always say, there's always a hand on the table and a hand under the table. And the hand on the table is passing you the bread, pouring your tea or whatever. And the hand under the table is loading up that revolver, all right, to smoke you real quick and leave no evidence, all right? Because that's how these devils operate. They're crafty devils, all right? And I say that often. It says, here's how the French riot started, which I thought it could have sworn to just explain that. But anyways, if you spent time in American cities in 2020, this probably sounds reminiscent of the George Floyd riots. And see, there we go, right into it. Though there are some key differences, and you see, and Jake rose up for someone who was wicked, all right? But anyways, it says, police originally claimed Nahel, whatever, was trying to drive away, but footage, oh, you know what? I believe I actually saw this footage. I think I seen this footage. I believe I saw this. Okay, yeah, it was like two officers or whatever, 2 or 3 or whatever. At least I believe in the video I saw. I sure did. Okay, so this is linked to the same thing. It says, but footage verified by agents France Press proved that he was not resisting arrest. He lived with his mother, who was raising him alone, and while he had dropped out of school, he held down a job as a delivery boy. Nahel was also enrolled in a sports program aimed at helping youths from migrant neighborhoods assimilate. Okay, and this is kind of what I spoke on. It might have been in the last time I did the various articles. I'm not sure, but man, I almost lost my words. Okay, no, actually, I don't think it will. But anyways, the point being, this is what people don't understand. This is judgment, okay? and he had those officers take out the judgment on this teen, as they say, oh, he was good, he was doing this, oh, he helped migrants assimilate neighborhoods and blah 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 blah. Well, the Lord judged his spirit, because the Lord knows if he had did something, wicked, whether it been this life or a previous life, or maybe early, which he wasn't, that old, they say was teen, but still, at 9 years old, you're still old enough to know when you're doing wrong, right or wrong. 9, 10 years old, okay. So but ultimately, overall, the Lord has sent out, like the scripture says, there be spirits created for vengeance, all right. And so the Lord, this is ultimately judgment, man, and this is all that's been going out, judgment, constant, round the clock, like it says in I want to say Zephaniah 3 and 5, if I'm correct. It might be another verse, but anyways. But yeah, the Lord says that every morning does he bring his judgment to light, or something like that, somewhere around those lines. But yeah, and not going into this, many times before, the Lord is on a 24-hour clock of judgment, because everywhere there is a sunrise, all right? And so that is a 24 clock of judgment going out. And this is one of the many judgments. This is one of the uprisings in this earth. Like when you go into Matthew 24 and Luke 21, all right? Wars, rumors of wars, and all these things, and all these different uprisings, right? He even talks about that in Second Ezra, okay? Going to be people against people, and so on and so forth, all right? So much more. I'm gonna wrap this one up real quick. It says, I grabbed this. It says, let's look at how the death of one teenager set off such massive riots, how the French leadership has reacted, and what lessons the rest of us can take away from this. France has long been notorious for poorly assimilating immigrants. Like many other countries, while the political class has been eager to accept migrants, much of the regular population has not. This has led to inadequate funding of social services and tension within the lower income areas. And you know what this just made me think of? About all the so-called Mexicans that came in, right? The Israelites that came in from the border with that whole that last border crisis thing that was going on. Okay, when they were able to come, but what happened to that? Everybody just stopped talking about it all of a sudden, right? They it's going to be this, it's going to be that, and all of a sudden, it happened, and now it just went away. Just people just stopped talking about it. But just a thought. I'm probably not going to read more on this. There's really probably not much we can grab from that. Also a very long article. Want to read that one? There's the title, the headline: the French riots are a golden opportunity for a government crackdown. All right, let's grab our next one. Okay, it says WHO and Gates Incorporated announced plans to flood Africa with ultra dangerous malaria Vickies. Okay, just gonna be careful with my words. All right, it said, no, I am on a new page, but hey, you never know. It says the World Health Organization, or you might know as WHO, which was in the headline, all right, WHO, and its partner organization, the Bill Gates controlled Gavi, or however you pronounce it, announced Wednesday that they will be flooding Africa with 18 million doses of malaria Vickies. It says the dossier is a reader-supported publication to receive new posts and support my work. Consider becoming a free or pay. Oh, okay, that's something else. Is it? I'm not sure. Anyways, it says during a Wednesday press conference, WHO Director Tedros Adhanom declared that 12 African countries will be receiving 18 million doses of malaria Vickies in the coming months. Declaring. Give me a second here, 'cause I'm starting to get a little blurry. Slow down. Let me grab my. Just bear with me a second. Okay. It says. Okay. Declare that 12 African countries will be receiving 18 million doses of malaria Vicky in the coming months, declaring that climate change is largely responsible for the continuing disease burden in the continent. It says, while it seems like great news at the surface, considering Africa's continuing malaria epidemic, we've again encountered a situation in which the cure appears to be more threatening than the disease itself. Malaria indeed plagues the African continent. It is reported to be the culprit for the annual deaths of about 500,000 children in sub-Saharan Africa. All right, the Lord putting these plagues on these heathen nations. All right, that's in the scriptures. Okay, he's slowly turning all things that are on us and have been placed against us on these heathens, man. And soon come, it's gonna be, full force. All right. But for now, things is just going to keep happening like this. Slowly, they're going to continue elevating and escalating. Things are not going to change, man. They're only going to get worse. I just read that malaria indeed plagues. I think I did. It says, and before the mid 20th century, there were few medical means to defeat parasite infestations other than to improve sanitation and living standards. Today, there are several medications that prevent and treat malaria, but do not provide sterilizing immunity to the disease. The only malaria Vicky that has been rolled out thus far is an injection called Moscarix. It says which is produced by big pharma giant GSK. Moscarix not only does not provide sterilizing immunity, it requires 4 separate shots, and its supposed preventative effects only last a handful of months. Then what's the point of it? That's something that's like no different from. I'm gonna try to be careful what I say. When you go to these buildings with the oh man, how am I gonna say this? When you go to these places of help, okay, when you have an emergency, and then the doctor prescribes you something, and you end up being on this thing for the rest of your life, okay, because that generates currency for them, okay, for these big corporations, which we know are owned by more than likely all owned by the international banking families. All right, I mean, if it lasts for a handful of months, and then you come down with you still ill or whatever. What are you going to have to do? You're going to have to get another shot. And you're going to be doing what? Shooting up for the rest of your life. But anyways, it says, additionally, the drug is not only seemingly worthless, what you say, you can't make that up, seemingly worthless, but uniquely dangerous. This is the largest Moscarix trials produce shockingly poor results, with the Vicky cohort having much worse outcomes than the placebo group. The Vicky group displayed 10 times higher risk of meningitis and cerebral malaria, and a doubling in the risk of toe tagging compared to the placebo group. Even if the shots work, they do not achieve any temporary or long-term sterilizing immunity or significant efficacious benefit. So in no way would it reduce the actual disease burden. So they're just shooting you up with nothing, huh? It says, nonetheless, the notoriously corrupt and captured WHO has given its stamp of approval for the dangerous vaccine, recommending it for at-risk youth. They're always attacking the youth. It says they even baselessly claim on the WHO website that for every 200 malaria shots deployed, one child's life will be saved by the Vicky. That sounds like something else. I almost said it, but I'm not going to say it. You know what I'm talking about. The original slime juice, right? Okay, that's the end of this article. I guess we'll grab these. It says, last year, UNICEF awarded GSK, which again is currently the lone supplier of malaria shots, with a $170 million contract for 18 million doses of its malaria injections, which is $9.44 per dose. Now, Gates Incorporated and its middleman partners have released a white paper detailing their roadmap for the deployment of these shots. They are seeking to establish a system in which 80 to 100 million shots are injected into the arms of sub-Saharan African children on an annual basis by 2030. They love their dates, and it's always 2030. You notice that? It says this would create a malaria vaccine industry in Africa that is poised to rake in close to $100 billion annually. And I guess they summed up their whole prize. More money, right? Actually, there's more, or a tad bit more. We're not gonna grab it. That's it for that one. All right. So you see that headline? All right, we're gonna grab our next one. All right. Wasn't planning on grabbing this one, but I'm gonna see what this one has. It says report: UN Pact for the Future seeks permanent emergency powers for complex global shocks. All right, it says the UN is set to outline a far-reaching plan to secure emergency powers that would allow the global body to lead a common agenda for all nations during any complex global shocks, such as a new scamdemic. The Federalist reports that the plan is to be finalized at a September 2024 Summit of the Future, where the UN will adopt a pact for the future to include policies that have been outlined in the globalist body's Our Common Agenda report. One such policy is an emergency platform during any events that have a global impact that will provide the UN the authority to actively promote and drive an international response that places the principles of equity and solidarity at the center of its work. What we got here? The United Nations would be given unprecedented authority over the public and private sectors of huge swaths of the world, all in the name of battling a yet unknown crisis. What could possibly go wrong? Okay. What's that? Tweeter. What is it? Twitter. No, Twitter. I think it's called Twitter. It says the report notes that some details of the emergency platform were outlined in a paper from March, with the UN Secretary General declaring, "I propose that the General Assembly provide the Secretary General and the United Nations system with the standing authority to convene and operationalize automatically an emergency platform in the event of a future complex global shock of sufficient scale, severity, and reach." The paper gives several examples of what could trigger the emergency authority, including major climate event, future pandemic risks, a global digital connectivity disruption, major event in outer space. Really, it says, and generic unforeseen risks, black swan events. Okay. It says it goes on to suggest that the UN would have the power to oversee the stakeholders of the world, including academics, governments, private sector actors, and international financial institutions, to ensure there is a unified global response to whatever crisis is declared. All right, and it's always funny how they know a crisis or a thing is coming or gonna happen or whatever the case may be, because it's all planned out. It says the paper further suggests that and they always got an answer for you too, don't they? It says the paper further suggests that such authority would ensure that all participating actors make commitments that can contribute meaningfully to the response, and that they are held to account for delivery on those commitments. Excuse me. It also states that while the emergency authority would have an initial finite lifespan, the UN would be able to extend it indefinitely if it saw fit to do so. The Federalist report notes that the Biden administration has backed the proposal on multiple occasions, prompting reporter Justin Haskins to warn that if the emergency platform is approved, the United States as we know it could cease to exist. Well, that's what they say, but the United States is going to cease to exist because it's prophecy. The Lord is going to wipe this this itch off the map. All right, that's just prophecy. Okay. It's actually, I thought it was going to be a little more in there than what it was. What does this say on Twitter? Take over the UN is planning to seize global emergency powers with Biden support. The proposal might be the biggest attempted power grab in the history of the United Nations. If approved, the United States, as we know, that's the same thing that was right over here, or similar, whatever the case may be. That's about it. Yeah, that's about it. So that was the UN Pact for the Future seeks permanent emergency powers for complex global shocks. All right. Let me see here. All right. It says this AI-based farm robot uses lasers to kill up to 100,000 weeds per hour. Technocracy. It's always there. And I'm not sure if this is the real deal thing or it's just some kind of, depiction or not even looking anything close. I'm not sure. All right, it says, well, maybe we can get a video. If it's a real video, we'll play it. This AI-based farm robot uses lasers to kill up to 100,000 weeds per hour, keeping farmers from having to use harmful pesticides on crops. What do you think? We'll see. See if we can play this. Okay, pretty neat machine there, but I don't really think it matters, all right? Because regardless of what they do to prevent using pesticides, they're still going to poison your food, okay? It's going to poison your food on whatever level they can. There's no getting around that, all right? So it doesn't matter if they use laser beams to prevent pesticides because they're moving everything to lab-grown things. Nothing is natural anymore. Nothing is natural. Anything that you think is organic, it's probably not even organic, okay? And even if it is organic, it's been tampered with. And that's just the world that we live in, all right? The scriptures talk about that. We should eat our bread undefiled. That's all our food. Whatever, even things that we have eaten, as the scriptures deem to be clean foods by Bible standards. Those things are probably the first things that were defiled, all right? Because, the Esau knows, okay? That there are people out there who do their best to reverence the laws of the Lord, okay? Remember them, that is, all right? Because we're not bound under them, but we reverence them. We remember them, okay? All right? And we pay that proper homage to the Lord, okay? But, point being, everything's defiled, man. It doesn't matter if they use a laser beam for crops. They bought up all the crop lands. Who cares what they do with it? Because they're going to do whatever they want to do with it anyways. They own all the land. Whatever land they don't own, they oppress these farmers, all right? There was one article I put up some months ago where they were oppressing this Amish farmer because, I forget exactly what it was about. But yeah, man, this is what the government does. And it's just a lot of things you don't hear about. And then sometimes you do hear about it because, articles and secondhand news and things of that nature. So it doesn't really matter. They can make all the cool machines that they want with their little technocracy and whatever. But they're going to defile your food regardless, all right? There's no getting away. There's no just because you don't have to worry about pesticides on the crops. I mean, and matter of fact, and this makes me think, well, exactly what crops are these? Is they just going to do this on all crops or just a certain crop? There's vegetables, there's fruits, and I mean, it's just more nonsense, man. It's just Esau doing what Esau does, man. And I guess that was it for that article. I'm almost compelled to hit this read more button, but we're just gonna leave that one there. I just wanted to pick up down because I saw it, see what was in it. So I'm gonna grab the one that was gonna be our last one next. So give me a second here. All right, speaking of defiling, here we go. Esau at his best. Forever chemicals in at least 45% of U.S. tap water, USGS study. Okay. All right, so let's get into this. Source Epoch Times. It says tap water is seen in this photo illustration in Washington on August 19, 2019. Alistair Pike, okay, blah, blah, blah. It says nearly half of the tap water in the United States is estimated to have what are known as forever chemicals, that's not the first time. You probably should have heard about that by now. But what are known as forever chemicals, also referred to as per and poly fluoroalkyl, I guess that's how you pronounce this, fluoroalkyl. It says substances, PFAS. It says the study by the U.S. Geological Survey tested for the presence of 32 types of PFAS from samples taken from 716 locations, 296 private wells, and 447 public supply across the nation from 2016 and 2021, which is it actually, it kind of makes me think like, how do you even pollute a private well? Like, kind of makes you wanna wonder how all the waterways and the systems work. But we know this is not ancient, lands or whatever like that. So any water springing up, is more than likely defiled anyways. You're right. But anyways, it says based on these samples, USGS researchers determined by modeling that on average, at least one PFAS is detected in about 45% of U.S. tap water. But we know the better be drinking tap water anyways, or you should be knowing better. It says there are more than 12,000 types of, and when I can, when I can afford it, not rich, none of us are, but when I can afford it, always get alkaline. What is it? There's different alkaline water, but there's one I specifically buy from Publix. It's called Eternal. I like that water. It's pretty good water, Eternal. But Esau, Esau's and everything, man. So like I said in that last article, everything's gonna be polluted, man. It's just, this is what it is, living in the devil's house, and that's where we are right now, in the devil's house. Okay, this is like what I talked about recently. These pistols, these digital lessons and these camp sessions going out. Every time they go out, they're binding the strong man, and soon Yahweh Shai is going to come and take the strong man and bring the whole house down, right? But this is just part of the process, right? The binding of him first. But anyways, it says there are more than 12,000 types of PFAS, which are invisible man-made chemicals, high levels of which have been linked to adverse health issues, including various cancers, reproductive issues, and adverse effects on immune function. But not all of these, not all of the PFAS types can be detected with current tests, which it doesn't matter. I mean, just knowing that it's there should be enough. I mean, it's not like they're just, openly telling the people in the public, stop drinking that water. Yeah, right. Okay, so that white dot is not detected. 1 and 3, 4 to 6, 7 and 9. You see the map. All right, so it says this USGS map shows the number of detected, the PFAS detected in tap water samples from select sites across the nation. The findings are based on a USGS study of samples taken between 2016 and 2021 from private and public supplies at 716 locations. The map does not represent the only locations in the U.S. with PFAS. All right. It says USGS scientists tested water collected directly from people's kitchen sinks across the nation. Once again, because you should be drinking that tap water anyways, it says providing the most comprehensive study to date on PFAS and tap water from both private wells and public supplies. USGS research hydrologist Kelly Smalling, the study's lead author, said in a statement on July 5th. How much is here? Man, this is a lengthy article. Probably not going to go through all of it. More risk of exposure in urban areas. It says the scientist wearing black gloves is collecting a sample of tap water from the kitchen sink using small plastic vials to test for PFAS. Let me see. Can I see here? Okay, he ain't doing too much of nothing. I don't really want to read all of it. I just don't want to skip over anything. What does this say? It says, these substances are known for their resistance to grease, oil, water, and heat, and as such can be used in a wide range of products, including non-stick cookware, stain and water-resistant fabrics and carpets, as well as cleaning products, paints, water repellents, and firefighting foams. So what are they talking? Let me jump back real bit quick. It says PFAS are colloquially anyways referred to as forever chemicals because they don't easily break down in the human body or the environment, and some of them never fully break down. Okay, these substances are known for their resistance to grease. Well, okay, well, all right, so we ran into that. Just wanted to go back and see what was the point was that. Let me see here. According to USGS, the study marks the first time anyone has tested for and compared PFAS in tap water from both private and government-regulated public water supplies on a broad scale throughout the United States. Those data were used to model and estimate contamination nationwide. This USGS study can help members of the public to understand their risk of exposure and inform policy and management decisions regarding testing and treatment options for drinking water, the agency said in a release. Sure, if it was that important, they really cared, they'd just bring the president. Everybody stop drinking tap water. But okay, we'll grab just a little bit of this and probably close it out. It says urban areas are more at risk of exposure compared to rural areas, with the forever chemicals detected in over 70% of urban areas or areas with a known history of PFAS contamination. Compared to 8% of rural areas, researchers observed the exposure in urban areas, including around the Great Plains, Great Lakes, Eastern Seaboard, and Central and Southern California regions. The most frequently detected compound in this study were PFBS, PFHXS, and PFOA, which I have no idea what those are. It says USGS researchers estimate the probability of not detecting PFAS above the detection limits is about 25% in urban centers or areas with a known history of PFAS contamination, and more than 75% in rural areas. All right. So ain't too much more. Well, actually, that was the end of the article, but yeah, ain't too much more to be talked about here. So I guess that'll be our last article. I mean, I'm not gonna actually go search through now because I pretty much grabbed the ones that I wanted to look into. So I guess we'll end it at that. All over the edify. Shalom.